and welcome to Wonderland. My name is Allison. I am a massage therapist by day and a tarot reader by night here on YouTube and also on Twitch. In today's video, we are going to go through my entire deck collection. This is tarot and oracle, and I don't keep them all in one place. And then I kept finding little spots here and there. I don't necessarily have a particular reason for having separate places for them other than there are just some that like I only use personally. Uh and that's just cuz they're kind of more of like journaling types of decks that like you just really want to sit and reflect with and like research on the topic of the card, or I don't know, and sometimes they just don't really translate into private readings just because like you have to put so much work and effort, and it's more about the introspection than the message that the actual card says. So those decks I just kind of keep for personal use, for journaling. Sometimes I'll pull them out for readings here and there if I think they pertain to a person's particular situation. But for the most part, the rest of my decks I keep here at my desk. And to be quite honest with you, I think maybe one of the reasons I keep them in so many different places subconsciously is to make me think that I don't have as many as I do. So there's always room for more, right? You can never have too many tarot and oracle decks. So let's go through all of the decks here in Wonderland. So these are the decks that I use primarily for streaming and for private readings. And I made these tiered shelves out of cardboard and then just covered them with scrapbook paper. As you can see, I don't keep them in boxes unless I'm traveling with them, and I'll show you where I store all the boxes later. But I just love these tiered shelves because they're just easy to access and grab really quick. And that allows me to use more than one deck for one reading. And I just love cards and pulling as many cards as possible. So I'm just going to go row by row and flip through all of the decks. If I'm able to find links to them, I will put them in the description below. I won't be flipping through all of the cards, but just kind of a few so you get the idea of the energy and the art and kind of the feel of each deck. The first deck that we have here is The Good Tarot by Colette Baron-Reid, and it's illustrated by Jenna de Grottalia. This was gifted to me. I honestly don't think I would have purchased it on my own just because I have so many of her decks. And honestly, in the beginning, I was like a Rider-Waite-Smith girl. I like didn't want to use any other deck. But gradually I've been getting a lot more tarot decks. But this was gifted to me. I mean, I love Colette Baron-Reid's decks, and I use this primarily as clarifiers, especially in yearly readings, because you don't want to approach your year expecting bad things to happen. So I like it as like putting a positive spin on larger situations in your life. This is the Raise Your Vibration Oracle by Kyle Gray, and the artwork is by Ari Weisner. And this is a fairly new deck to me. It came in one of the Hay House card deck clubs, so it came out this year, 2023, I think. And I have another one of Kyle Gray's decks, and I really, really love it. This is a simpler, more like nice for a daily card draw or affirmations. I love the colors. It's super vibrant and just kind of makes a nice closing to a reading, or just like adding sprinkles onto a reading. These are the Color Goddess casting cards by Renee A. Birch. She is the writer and the artist of this deck. If you want my full review and everything of this deck, I love it, love it, love it, but I have a full flip through and review. It's a wonderful deck, and I can't say more good things about it. and it's just like, it's like none other. I love the colors. I love the artwork. I love the whole idea of it. It's just wonderful and amazing. And if you want to hear more or learn more about it, I'll link the video, the full flip through and unboxing of this in the description. Next we have the Sword, or the Archangel Michael Sword of Light Oracle. This is by Radley Valentine, and the artist is Echo Chernik. Archangel Michael is my dude. I totally work with him frequently, especially when I first started my massage business and I was going to strangers' homes and massaging them, which is kind of, and still is kind of, a sketchy thing to be doing. So I frequently work with him with my massage practice. I was really excited to start working with this deck. I don't really have an opinion on it. The art is beautiful, the colors are beautiful, and I'm new to Radley Valentine's work, so I don't know. The verdict's still kind of out on that one, but like I said, I love Michael. I love working with Michael, so it's nice to have a deck that is dedicated fully to him. And as it should be, the Rebel deck is sandwiched between my two Angel decks. So this was the Glamour edition of the Rebel deck, so it has the sparkly background instead of the pink like the original deck has. I think there are some additional cards in this as well. They are super silly, like eat your fucking vegetables, eat some shit made by Mother Nature. But it's kind of eerie how spot on they are for any reading. Like, no matter what you're doing, it always pertains to the reading. It's actually kind of crazy. So it's a super cute, fun deck, but it's also very accurate as well. Oh, and it's by Shannon Gomez. Next we have the Archangel Fire Oracle by Alexandra Wenman, and the artist is Avela Savina. And this deck actually kind of goes back and forth between my personal collection and then the ones I use. I really don't use this on stream that often. I really kind of work with it more as if I want to work with a specific angel. The art is really, really interesting. There so much went into this deck. It's really beautiful, but it is one of the decks that I really like. There's meditations and there's exercises and there's how to connect to the angel in this deck. I love this deck, but I don't often use it for readings. I usually kind of use it to find specific angels. There's Michael. Next we have the Magick of Unicorns Oracle cards by Diana Cooper, and the artwork is by Marjolaine Cruitt. And this deck is really beautiful. I love the art. I love the messages. But again, it is kind of one that is really like, because there's exercises, there's connecting to each card. I don't know, it is kind of one that is more of like a meditation kind of thing, but I do like it for private and live readings as well. And this is the Oracle of the Hidden Worlds by Lucy Cavendish, and the artwork is by Gilbert Williams. I really, really, really love this deck. Even though it is one that sort of takes you on a journey in a more meditative, reflective, introspective kind of way, I still really like it and appreciate it for readings. Not every reading, but sometimes it works really well with like spiritual guidance, even career guidance, or just kind of direction, and or just a fun like magical kind of reading or spread. Then we have the Shaman's Dream Oracle by Colette Baron Reed, and the art is Alberto Velado. This was a deck that came with the Oracle Palooza ticket, which is an event that Colette Baron Reed holds every year. It's a virtual event where you take the whole weekend to really, like, you're pulling like 10 oracle cards a day, reflecting, journaling, meditating, and it was such a beautiful experience. So I have that event attached to this deck, so I really do love it. It is, again, kind of like a subconscious energy deck, and similar to the Oracle of the Hidden Worlds that we were just looking at. It's just it really taps into that subconscious energy and kind of brings things to the surface for you. This is a mini deck called the Illustrated Herbiary by Maya Toll, and the artist is Kate O'Hara. So this was the original version of this deck. It actually came with the book, and then you punched out the cards from the back of the book. And there's actually a little pocket in the back of the book where you can slip those in there. But this is like my only herb deck, which is kind of strange to me. But the artwork is amazing. It's the most incredible artwork that captures this, like, almost like this character of the plant, and it's just incredible. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure she has full decks now, but at the time, I think she even mentions in the book, at the time, like, for some reason her publisher like wouldn't publish a deck. They wanted her to publish a book or something. I don't know. But there's, like, she has 3 others, I think. That's, like, this is the herb one. She has an animal one and a crystal one. So it's super cute. I love it. I love that, like, the artwork is just amazing. The next one I actually have wrapped in a scarf that is also by this artist. This is Heather Youngblood. Her business is called Youngblood Made. She is a local artist to me, and this deck is actually part Oracle and part Art Prompt deck. It also came with a dice. So the idea is that you roll the dice, and whatever number it lands on, you pick that many number of cards. And so you're taking the keywords that are on there, like Dreamcatcher and Leaves, and then you have to create something, whether it's a story or a piece of artwork, that incorporates those 2 words. But it can also be used as an oracle deck as well. And this is the dice that it comes with. And now we have yet another Colette Baron Reed deck. This is the Wisdom of the Hidden Realms, and it's illustrated again by Jenna de la Grotalia. And this was actually, I think, one, if not the first, one of the first oracle decks that I've ever had. So it has that, like, special place in my heart. I actually used the cover art on one of my writing desks, like my art desk, and it's always been a really big inspiration for me and my massage business. And as a healing business, it's just been a really special deck to me. Like, I guess like your first deck always will. But it's also a really great deck. I do wish that there was more information in the guidebook. It's also one of the first oracle decks that does reversals. A lot of her oracle decks do use reversals, which is kind of nice to have, like, that many more meanings to all of the cards. The next one is the Everyday Witch Oracle by Deborah Blake, and the art by Elizabeth Alba. This is another one that I just really, really love the art style. It's just like classic witch for me. I actually was kind of debating between the Everyday Witch Tarot and this one, and I ended up with the Oracle instead. I'm very happy with it. Have it for quite some time. I always intended to get the Tarot eventually, but I haven't. I really do love this deck. The only thing I didn't, it's really hard to find the information in the guidebook because the cards are not numbered. So I did add my own numbers onto the bottom of the card, but this is just such a classic deck. It's perfect. You can really use it for any situation, a daily card pull, whatever. And yeah, it's just wonderful. Next, we have the Fairy Godmother Oracle cards. This is by Flavia Kate Peters, and the artwork is Julie Meacham. And this deck honestly kind of surprised me. I thought it was going to be like a silly, fun sort of deck, but it actually does go a lot deeper and is a little bit harsher than I expected it to be, which is not necessarily good or bad. I like this deck a lot more. I kind of didn't know much about it when I got it. I just kind of, I don't know, I felt drawn to it. And it is a lot more of a tough love kind of deck than you would expect from a fairy godmother deck. This next one is a really super cute deck, and I don't have that much information about the artist or the creator other than it's, if I'm saying it correctly, it's Mr. DIY Shisha, and this is the Alice and Luna's tarot deck. They have a ton of like super cute kawaii style kind of decks. I had to get this one because it was Alice in Wonderland, obviously, but they have like teddy bears and cats and ghosts, and they have like so many super cute decks, but I honestly don't know that much information about them. I'll link them in the description because if you're looking for a mini deck, there's no reason not to get this one. It's your typical Rider-Waite, and I use it for clarifying, and it's really, really good at clarifying. It's the Grimalkin's Curious Cat Tarot by MJ Cullian. I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly, but we love this deck. I have a full flip through and unboxing. I'm pretty sure I rated it pretty high. I made an instant connection to this deck. It's super cute. The art's incredible. And her other decks seem amazing as well. I am trying not to buy them all. She's the author of the Crow Tarot. That's a pretty popular deck. And yeah, this deck's amazing. I will link in the description if you want to see the full flip through, unboxing, and review of this deck. I'll put that in the description below. Now we move to the Healing Spirits Oracle by Gordon Smith, and the artwork is by Naomi Walker. This is actually one of my newest decks. It just came along with the Healing Waters deck, which we're going to do next in the Hay House Card Deck Club box. I don't have an opinion on this yet. I will eventually do an unboxing and a review, but it's one of those ones that you have to take a while to get to know. The descriptions in the guidebook are really simple, but they're spot on. It's a very, very intuitive deck, but I just want to work with it a little bit more before I give my full review of it, so that will be upcoming soon. And like I said, this came with the Healing Waters deck by Rebecca Campbell, and the artwork is by Katie Louise. I also have a full unboxing and review of this deck, so you can check that out in the description below. I love this deck. I don't love all of Rebecca Campbell's decks, and I don't really have a reason, but this one I feel a very strong connection to. I love that the images feel like you're looking at a painting that is underwater, and I just love water energy. So yeah, this is again a new deck, but I love it so far. Now we have the Star Tarot by Kathy McClelland, and I believe she is the illustrator as well. The artwork is breathtaking, so vibrant, so beautiful. I honestly don't have a reason for using this deck that often. I've been trying to use it more and more in public and private readings, but I have primarily used it for my own personal readings, and I think it's just, there's so much symbolism and so much imagery. The guidebook is huge. It's like reading a novel. So it's just one of those like introspective kind of decks, and I've been trying to use it more because it's just so beautiful. It needs to be seen. The only thing I don't like about it is the cards are very long, and I have pretty large hands, but I love to riffle shuffle, so it hurts your hands to shuffle. So it's narrow, but it's long. Whereas the Curious Cat Tarot is wide, but it's short and it's easier to shuffle. So This deck's beautiful. I'm trying to use it more often, so hopefully you'll be seeing it more in public readings. This is the Jack-O-Lantern Tarot by Giuliano Costa and Rachel Paul. It is a Low Scarborough deck from, I believe, US Games. So as you can see, it like came in a tuck box. It's your classic like US Games kind of has more of that like poker deck kind of feel to it. This deck is, the art is like so incredible. I probably say that about every deck. But there's a lot going on in this deck. I primarily use it for spirit guide or ancestor communication, and obviously as a fall themed deck. It's really cool. I feel like I haven't gotten everything that I will be getting out of it because I need to work with it more closely. I think I got this like in December, so I like haven't actually used it for everything that I've like truly want to use it for, you know. So yeah, I don't I don't want to say spooky, but it's like there's like more layers to it than I think it kind of lets off to begin with. I think it might surprise you. This is the other Kyle Gray deck that I have, the Angels and Ancestors Oracle, and the artwork is by Lily Moses. So this Oracle deck is actually one of the first oracles that I tried digitally first. I think I can't remember who published this. I want to say it was probably Hay House. Yeah, Hay House. There was a time where Hay House had digital decks, and even if you didn't feel like a digital deck would actually work and for divining purposes, it was a really great way to get the feel of the energy and the artwork and kind of the feel for the decks. But I found that this is the deck that made me a believer in digital decks because it was just kind of spooky how incredibly accurate it was. And I just got to a point where I was like, I want to have these in my hands. I don't want, like, I like the digital deck was perfect, but like I needed the actual hard copy of it. So that's how I acquired this deck. It's so beautiful. It's very like earthy, but also it has this angelic spirit guide kind of energy to it. It's almost kind of like a mix between Native American and Druid-y, if that makes sense. So the next deck that we have is by Stephen D. Farmer. It's the Earth Magic Oracle cards, and I'm actually just noticing for the first time that the artists and the illustrations are all by different people. I mean, it looks like almost every card has a different artist, which is really kind of interesting because this is maybe one of the first decks that I ever had. And the artwork is, I mean, it's very cohesive. Normally when you have a deck that's by multiple artists, it has like a different feel to it, but they're all very cohesive and work well together. So that's really interesting. So I used to have, back in the day, I feel really connected to animal spirits, and Stephen Farmer had one of the like original animal spirit books. So I had his book and I was looking for a deck and I was like, oh wow, he has a deck. So it's a very brief guidebook, and it's more of kind of like an intuitive deck. It's really great for keywords and that sort of thing. And it's also one of the only like earthy decks that I have. So it's my go-to earth deck. Next we have the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. And this is by Kim Kranz. She is the artist and the author. And I'm really surprised that I don't have more decks by her, because everything I've seen by her is just phenomenal. I think maybe one of the only reasons I don't is because she has a really wonderful animal deck, and I already have like 3 animal decks, so I think I've just kind of been hesitant. But this deck is so intuitive and just really has those images that unlock keys for you. There's so many different ways you can use this deck. And what I also love is how just reading the guidebook is really interesting. You learn a lot reading it, but I also love that she tells you the whole creation story of the deck. And I just love that, because as someone who has been self-publishing for a few years and has always been an aspiring artist, like, it's not easy. So I just really appreciate hearing the backstory and the history of the making. So yeah, this is a really wonderful deck. I highly recommend it. It's a round deck, obviously, so it's one of my only round decks, and it's fun. I love it. This is a deck that I carry with me on the go, in my purse, wherever I go. So I keep it in this beautifully crocheted bag by one of our community members, and it is the Tarot of White Cats. This is another Lo Scarborough deck, so it has that kind of like poker deck kind of feel. And the illustrator is Severino Baraldi, and it's just your basic Lo Scarborough deck. I love that. I also use it for one of my clients in France sometimes, because it, like all Lo Scarborough decks, it has all the different languages on each of the 4 corners. I obviously have a strong connection to cats, and I actually used to have a white cat, and it's after they passed away. I always intended to get this deck, but I never did until recently somebody gifted it to me. So I just love, I don't know, it's my personal deck that I use for my own readings, and it's pretty cool. So now we're moving to a little shelf below my computer, and these are decks that I use for almost every reading, or just ones that I use frequently. Some of them are newer decks, so I just want to use them as much as possible to kind of get to know them. And first we have the Chakra Healing deck by Athena Prakis. You have seen this in every weekly moon update video. It's a deck that you can use for any and all purposes. It has the information right there on the card. It does also have a guidebook, like a mini paper guidebook that has additional journaling questions and additional information about each card. It's a really great deck, just kind of an all-around chakra deck. One of the reasons why I prefer Athena Prakis' decks is because she uses the 9 chakra system versus the 7 chakra system like you will find in other decks. So I just really love this deck. I use it for daily draws. As you know, I use it for the weekly readings. It's just a really good, right on the nose. Everything you need to know is all there on the card for you. You can also say the same thing for her Gemstone affirmation deck. This is also by Athena Prakis. The same exact thing. Like, it has all the information, like brief information right there on the card. This one does not have a guidebook, but it's just nice for daily affirmations, or it's especially nice if we all want to have all of the shiny crystals and every single one of them, but this is nice to still tap into the gemstone energy, even if you don't have that stone. It's also a good way to get to know a stone and see if you really do want to purchase it. So it's just a same thing like I said about the chakra one. It's like a good daily draw. It's right on the nose for just a brief message if you need a quick daily or right in the moment kind of pull. This deck is probably my newest favorite. It's by Asha Frost, and the artwork is by Steph Littlebird. It's the Sacred Medicine Oracle, and this deck is just electric. The reason it sits here is because it kind of moves between my travel case and my desk. So it sits in the front here because I like to use it for massage clients because it is a healing deck. And then I also like to use it for readings too. The artwork is amazing. Like I said, it literally feels like it vibrates off of the page. I love the sacred ceremonies that come with each card. There's an affirmation for each card. I really, really, really love this deck, and I can't wait to get to know it even more. This next one is a really powerful one. It's also by an independent creator. It's called the Soul Truth Self-Awareness Card Deck. It says Daily Questions That Will Transform Your Life. And this is by Brianne Hovey. And it's just another one that's really wonderful, like the Chakra deck that has all of the information just right on the card. This has information on both sides of the card. And I use this as a journaling prompt deck. It's just a really great one to really contemplate, like it pushes you to contemplate things and to really kind of dig deeper into what might be going on with you. It also comes packaged super lovely. Even though it comes from Amazon, it seems to actually come from her. It came wrapped and just very beautifully packaged with a nice little note and card inside. Just a really, really wonderful independent creator. Next, we have my mini deck collection. These are just kind of like one-word decks that make for a nice little sprinkle on top of readings. Which one are we starting with? We're starting with the Making Magic deck. So this deck is really cool. It's by Priestess Moon. I wish I had the main deck, like the bigger deck, because there isn't any information except for what's written right on the cards. So I wish I had the original deck. I think it's maybe kind of intended to work with the original deck at home and then have this as something you can carry on the go. But I think it's kind of meant for like someone who's already familiar with all of the cards. But it's really cool. It really has like a really wonderful energy to it. So it is a really nice deck. I highly recommend it. So I know it seems silly to be wishing that these mini decks were larger decks, but that's because they're so good and you really need more information to it. I would really love to see this deck as a larger deck and learn about like where all of these doors come from, because just the images are so striking and they really kind of take you to this other place. So just as you can see, it has the doors on one side and then just it has like a keyword and then like a brief message on the other side. It's a really fun deck. It's nice to sprinkle on top of readings, but it's also nice to just get like a keyword for the day or something like that. This next one is The Whispering Woods by Jessica Lee. And it's just a really fun, all the backs are the same, and then it has a keyword and a brief message. It's a little more poetic than the Divine Doors messages, and I think she makes a bunch of different ones too. I think there's a garden one, and it's just super cute. A little nice sprinkle oracle to get some keywords for your reading. Another thing I'd like to say about just all of these mini decks in general is that the magnetic boxes are really fun. There's something very pleasurable and satisfying about the magnetic clasp. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in like different variations of this video, like a list of my top 5 favorite decks or something like that. If I were to do a video like that, this deck for sure would be on here. This is the Tarot in Wonderland by Barbara Moore. I can't say enough good things about this deck. I love it, love it, love it so very much. It captures so much of the Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass story, And you can tell that they just put so much time and effort in deciding which card was going to represent which element in the tarot deck. And it's just perfect. There's a lot of Alice in Wonderland decks out there, but I don't think those ones put as much effort into which card was going to have which image on it, because this one's just phenomenal. So this is my number one tarot deck. I use it in private readings, I use it for personal readings, I use it for everything. It's the best. A very close second is going to be this Tarot Collectibles Groovy Waite. This is the Starry edition, which in this lighting is actually kind of hard to see, but it has like a sparkly glitter starburst on it, which is so amazing. It is a traditional Rider-Waite with very imaginative, vibrant, and sparkly colors. It has this kind of like 60s, 70s groovy vibe, which is why it's called the Groovy Waite. I really love this deck. I haven't had it for very long, and it is just totally spot on for readings, and it's a pretty close second to the number one deck. Here we have my beloved animal spirit oracles. I only have 3, but I have my eye on many, many more. This first one is the Untamed spirit animal. It has this like elementary school earth biology book kind of feel to it. The illustrations are just like so beautiful. It's separated in elements. There's a lot more to this deck than meets the eye, and there's more like of the biological information, as well as like mythological and cultural information in regards to animals, which is really kind of interesting and unique. Next, we have the Archangel Animal Oracle deck by Diana Cooper. It's not available on Amazon right now. Hopefully you can get it on Hay House, that's the publisher. But this is the same person that did the Unicorn deck, and it's the same artist too. It's a really unique deck in the sense that it not only has the animal spirit information, but also the starseed information for each animal, what planet they came from, what their mission on Earth is. And it's a very, very interesting, unique deck. It has a lot of interesting animals in it too. There's my little squirrel friend. I love him. And if you're looking for a different animal spirit deck, this is it, because it has the starseed information. Then, last but not least, we have the Spirit Animal by, yet again, Colette Baron Reed. I was just so struck by the cover of this deck, and the art is so beautiful. I love it. It's so magical. And this is more of your like typical animal spirit deck. It's got the animal on there as well as keywords. This one does do reversals as well, so it has an upright meaning and a reverse meaning. I just love how they made the animals look so like goddess and godlike. It's a really powerful deck. It's a really spot on deck. Like, I mean, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It's like a straightforward, like messages are clear animal spirit deck. Now we head upstairs to the drawer where I keep mostly all of the empty boxes. So this is, I don't know what it is. I've just always never kept them in the box. I think I find it kind of annoying to like be taking them in and out of the box every time you use a deck. So I think maybe that's what started it. This also used to be my measure for whether I could get new decks or not. The more I rearrange it and make it so that you could fit more decks in there used to be my measure for whether or not I could buy a new deck. But as you can see, it's pretty stuffed and overfilled. And now we're going to go through, most of these are empty boxes, but some of them, I do keep some decks in here as well. So we're going to go through those decks. So this is a deck that I rarely use. However, I did just recently use this, I think, in the Cancer New Moon video, so I guess like when I pulled it out to film this video, I was like, oh yeah, I should try to use this again. So this was, I think, my second tarot deck ever. And at that time, I hadn't really learned or understood the basic tarot system. So I didn't use it because it wasn't helping me learn tarot at all. But I mean, it's a really beautiful deck. The artwork's amazing. It's by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine. And I know there's controversial stuff about Doreen Virtue, so it kind of has a weird energy to it. I did also use the deck a lot when I was grieving, so I think maybe I kind of just associate it with that time. So that's why it stays up here in the drawer of empty boxes. And now we have the Gods and Titans deck by Stacy DeMarco. I got this deck a few years ago, maybe even 5 years now, as a companion to a goddess oracle. I was really looking for some more masculine decks, which is very difficult to find. And I don't know what it is, but I really just can't make a connection to it. I primarily use it if I'm working with a specific god or deity, and also just as like a research. If I'm like, oh, who does this god represent, or what does this god represent? I don't know why. Like, I want to love it so bad. I don't know if it's just that masculine energy isn't for me, or if it's because I already have too much masculine energy and I'm supposed to work with feminine energy. But I just really want to have both. I want to have both the goddess and the god. But I don't know. Obviously it lives up in this empty box drawer, and I only pull it out on occasions when I'm working with a specific god. So I love Stacy DeMarco too. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Odin loves it, but it's just not for me. I guess maybe it's just one of those decks that is like not for every occasion and just for specific times. So this is another deck that I just want to love so badly. It's so unique and creative and inspiring and magical and educational, and it's the only linen cardstock that I have, and I just really, really love it. The art style is unique compared to, it's like unlike any other deck that I have, but I just cannot connect to it, and I don't know why. It's so frustrating. I've seen other people work with it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love this deck. It's so cool. I love the art style. And the one thing I will say about it is I have found so many new authors and books to read. That I think so. Basically, I guess this drawer is the drawer of card decks that are like, I don't want to say go to die, but like it's their last chance. And so I'm holding on to them to like really try to make a connection. And so this is by Tasia, I'm going to butcher the name, Kitai. I'm so sorry. And it's illustrated by Katie Horan. And one of the reasons I'm holding on to it is because I've had on my wish list for quite some time the companion book. It's called The Literary Witches, a celebration of magical women writers. And I am holding on to the deck just in case I end up getting the book and then just like magically connecting to the deck. So like I said, like the books that I have found through this deck, it's like one of those magical things where it's like the book that you needed to read in that moment. It's like perfect for your life. So it is a magical deck. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's super creative, but I'm still trying to make a connection to it, and I've had it for over 5 years. Oh gosh, so this one makes me so sad. I guess that's why I also keep these decks up here in this drawer so I don't have to see them and be reminded by how much I want to love the freaking Labyrinth deck, because I'm a huge Labyrinth fan and I'm a huge David Bowie fan, and I want to love this deck so freaking hard, but I'm just not a fan of pip decks. The art is insane. Like, it's so good. I'm pretty sure it looks like it's block printed, but I'm not sure if it actually is. But I hate pip decks. And what a pip deck is as you can see, the minor arcana are just symbols a specific number of time, very similar to a just regular playing card deck. And the reason, like that, I can, like a lot of decks do that, and the reason why this deck in particular is so horrible is because a lot of times you can't tell the difference between what is a cup and what is a wand and what is an earth sign. They use, it's junk, feathers, poles, and cauldrons or something like that. And so in the junk cards, they use it's pots. Pots are the cups. So in the junk cards, they use pots as one of the items. So it's really difficult to tell the difference between the cups and the pentacles, or the pots and the junk. And sometimes it's hard to, like, you gotta like count count how many are on there. So it kind of takes away from like the flow of doing a reading with these. However, the art is amazing. It's by Minerva Siegel, and the artist is Tomas Hijo, and the artist is so amazing. I don't know anything about the author, but like I kind of almost feel bad for how phenomenal the artwork is and how limited we get to, like, I don't, it just, I want to love this deck so bad. But if you, like, this is a company, Insight Tarot, and they are basically just kind of buying up properties and mass producing these decks. And of course they're going to sell like crazy because of the fans of the properties that they're purchasing. And I don't know, I just kind of leave a little bit disappointed. And even the guidebook isn't really that good. But anyways, the reason it lives up here is not because I feel so bad about it. It's because I used to use it as a fall deck. It was my Halloween themed deck until I've eventually ended up getting Halloween decks. So yeah, I don't know. I even thought about just creating with the major arcana like an art piece like that I could hang on the wall, because it is beautiful, it's phenomenal, but I just kind of don't like using it as a tarot deck in general. It's really unfortunate. It totally bumps me out. Okay, so now we are on the other side of the room going through my personal deck collection. This sits next to my altar. There's also some books in here too. I'm not really going to go over those. I'm just going to go through the rest of the decks that I have for my personal collection. Some decks live here because I'm trying to get to know them, like they're a new deck and I'm just trying to get the energy and the feel and make a connection to it. And others are just like, they're just like, you know, you got to sit down and read the guidebook and journal about it. I don't know, just some decks are more of an introspective than getting like an immediate direct message, if that makes sense. So for those of you that know me, know how I feel about this author, Danielle Dulski. But for those of you who don't know, Danielle Dulski is the creator of the Sacred Hag's Oracle. She also autographed this one for me. Yay! And if I could own everything that she has, I would. And to be honest, I'm pretty close to owning everything that she has done. She's so phenomenal. She's the kind of writer that when you're reading them, it sounds like it's coming from you. You're just like agreeing with everything that they're saying, and you're just, her writing's so empowering, and it's just so magical and special. Odin likes this deck too. So this is just, I mean, the reason it lives up here is because every card has a morning ritual and an evening ritual. So it's just one of those things that you want to sit on your nightstand. And so when you wake up in the morning, you do the morning ritual. When you go to bed at night, you do the evening ritual. The illustrator is Janine Houseman, and the collaboration between the two of them is just insane. It's just like the sacred hags took over their bodies and they created this masterpiece together. It's an amazing deck. I highly recommend it. Next we have Odin and the Nine Realms by Sonia Grace. And you may have heard her name. She commentates on like a lot of History Channel stuff, like the Ancient Alien show. She is, I believe, technically what her psychic gift is, a remote viewer, I think is what she technically is. So I love this deck. I got it because intended to use it as like reference for learning Norse mythology, but also the runes. So it's kind of divided into suits, I guess you could say. There's runes, there's gods and goddesses, there's the 9 realms, and then I think there's like one more suit as well. She is both the author and the artist of this deck, and there's something about the art that is so like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of archaic. It feels like, I don't know, it just has this vibrancy and this feeling to it. I love this deck, and then of course I use it just as reference for like if I'm trying to learn a specific Norse god, or if I'm trying to learn about a rune. And to be quite honest, for someone who is supposedly actually remote viewing these lands and has been to these ancient places, I wish there was more information in the guidebook. The information for each card is pretty brief. Maybe she might have like a companion book or something, or maybe some of her other books go into more detail, and maybe that's why there's not that much information in there, but I wish there was more information. I really, really love the deck. I love working with the deck. But again, it's more of like a resource for research versus a divination kind of tool. But it still can be used for divination purposes. And next we have the Celtic Tree Oracle, and I pretty much use it for the same reasons that I use the Odin deck for research, and I really wanted to learn more about trees. And I picked the Celtic Oracle because most of my family ancestry is Celtic. However, I do kind of wish that I had picked something that would have more trees that grow in my area. So I am still looking for another tree deck, but this deck is really beautiful. There's a lot of information in it about the trees and lore, and it's a really great resource. I think that this deck sort of speaks for itself. The White Light Oracle by Alana Fairchild, and the art is Andrew Gonzalez. It is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I think like there isn't really one word that can express like how powerful and meaningful this deck is. I love the card backs. I mean, I was like, this is just one of those decks that you're totally drawn to, and it doesn't disappoint. It's the art is insane. The guidebook is wonderful. The collaboration that Alana shares with you about how her and the artist were working together creating it is just so magical. I mean, it just is one of those like divinely channeled and created pieces of work that we are like blessed to be able to like see in 3D form, because it really just touches you on a spiritual level. So I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I would really love to use this deck eventually for public readings, but it's such a deep deck. I just really wanted to get to know it very, very well before I started using it for public readings. But yeah, it's phenomenal. Next, we have the Magical Spellcards by Lucy Cavendish, and it's interesting. There wasn't illustrator or artist credited for this. All of the backs are different. I think there's like, well, there's like four different images that are repeating on the back, which is really kind of interesting. It just has this like old world kind of feel to it. And basically the card has a keyword on it and then a little description. But then the guidebook is actually a spell. So it like lists ingredients and instructions for performing the spell. So the reason why it's up here is because I just mostly use it if I'm looking for a spell for peace. Then I pull out the card, I'll place it on my altar, and I'll try to gather the ingredients to do the specific spell. So I love Lucy Cavendish. I'm actually really surprised that I don't have more of her decks because I love her so much. So this is a really interesting one, and the primary reason that it's up here is because it's a deck that I'm really trying to get to know. It's actually an Oracle deck that is based on a fiction series, Raven's Wand Chronicles. So this is the Raven's Wand Oracle, and it's kind of difficult to understand if you don't know the characters. So I've been just really trying to learn this deck. I really love the art style. It's similar to Elizabeth Alba's, who illustrated the Everyday Witch Oracle. It just has this classic like witchy storybook vibe. And I really, really love the images on it. And so I'm in the process of reading the Raven's Wand Chronicles, the books. And then hopefully eventually I will start to be using this deck because it's super cute. The story's cool. It's like a witchy fairy tale. And yeah, it's really interesting. I don't think I've know of any other Oracle decks or Oracle decks that came from a novel. I don't know. Maybe there are, and I'm just not thinking of them. But yeah, it's a really cool idea, and it's a really beautiful deck. So this is one of my newest decks, and I'm really happy to see that it is on Amazon now, because I purchased this on Kickstarter. So it is the Elemental Empath Oracle by Mayuki Rose, and I'm keeping it up here because it's a really deep deck, but it's also I just am trying to learn it and get to know it. I always like to do that before I start using it for readings. It's very beautiful. Like everything, the art and the photography is all done by Mayuki Rose. The guidebook has so much information on it, which is another reason. I think this deck might stay up here because there's like a whole chapter dedicated to each card. The book is so big. So, yeah, it's just one of those really deep, reflective decks and very healing. And I would say you could use it for a shadow work deck too. Oh, wait, I lied. This next one is the newest deck. I actually thought that I didn't have this deck at the time that I filmed this video. So finally, the Alice in Wonderland Oracle by Lucy Cavendish and illustrated by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. So I've had this on my wish list forever, and I finally convinced my husband to buy it for me. So this is my newest deck. I haven't used it too frequently, but I've been wanting this forever. I really love this deck. I also love Lucy Cavendish and her magical mind. And I love that she includes the creation process of this deck. So I'm just so thrilled to finally have this in my collection, and I am loving it so far. Oh, what's that? You thought that we were done going through my tarot collection? You mean you don't have like random ass boxes with tarot cards in them? Um, in my case, I do. This is my heart-shaped box, and I put all of my love-themed decks in there. This is the Love Oracle, and it's really beautiful. The images are really beautiful, and I actually found out recently that the same images are used on a different deck, and I don't know if it's a different creator or a different, like, I'm not really sure, but I've seen these images on a different deck before. So this is, it just has like an image on one side, and then some of them have keywords and a message, and some of them just have a message. It's super cute, really difficult to shuffle, but they're usually really spot on for any reading, really. It doesn't have to be like a love specific reading. Then we have the Romance Angels deck by Doreen Virtue. This is honestly a super ghetto bootleg version of it, and the reason I gave myself permission to do that is because Doreen Virtue has renounced all tarot cards, and she's a millionaire. She's a millionaire because she created so many of like the original Oracle decks, and specifically Angel Oracle decks. And now she says that they're like, again, going against her religion or whatever. So I didn't really feel that guilty about buying a bootleg deck, but I do not encourage people to buy bootleg decks unless you have like, there's like, you can even still buy these on Amazon, but she's not getting that money because she doesn't take any of the money anymore. So I don't know. You might hate me for buying a bootleg deck, but that's, I did it. I did it on eBay, I think. So this one's kind of random. Every time I get a new deck, I ask it what it wants to be used for. And this is the Hocus Pocus deck. This is another Insight Editions Hocus Pocus deck. And it told me that it wanted to be a relationship deck. So here we have in the heart-shaped box the Hocus Pocus deck. And I use it for all of relationship readings. It is oddly right on every time. So I keep all of my love cards with some rose quartz in this heart-shaped box to just kind of have that lovely energy contained in all of the cards. Okay, now we've come to the seasonal decks, which are decks that I only use certain times of year. So the first one we have here is the Trick or Treat Tarot by Barbara Moore, who's the same author that did my favorite deck, the Tarot in Wonderland, that I use regularly. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I haven't actually used this deck yet. I got it, somebody gave it to me for Christmas last year, and I've done a flip through of it. The art is incredible. It's Jonathan Hunt. Jonathan Hunt is the illustrator, and I can't wait to use it. I'm so excited. It looks incredible. I've done a flip through of it, and it's just, it looks perfect. I mean, as much thought and energy that she put into the Tarot in Wonderland, I'm assuming is in this as well. So I just can't wait to use it. Fall is right around the corner, and I cannot wait. I'm sure it's phenomenal. So you're going to be seeing me. I'm probably going to start using it like September 1st, and September 1st until like, I don't know, December 1st maybe. So I really, really can't wait for this deck. I'm so excited. It just looks amazing. So next up we have the Seasons of the Witch oracles, I'm just going to show you all the ones that I have. I do not have all of them, and she is also not done making them. I think I am missing the Imbolc and the Mabon, and she is going to create them for all of the Sabbats as far as I know. So this first one is the Beltane one. I think this is the newest one that I have. We just finished using that. Then we have the Samhain one, which is the Halloweeny one, and then I have the Yule one. So those are the three that I have of hers. It's the same artist. They all have kind of the same vibe, other than they're like obviously meant to be to contain the energy of the season that it's portraying. I love the card backs. I love the cardstock. It's kind of perfect. It's like thick and sturdy, and then it has the beautiful gilded edges, but you can still like riffle shuffle it. And I love these decks. I love the arts. They're like hauntingly beautiful. Here we have the Halloween Oracle by Stacy DeMarco, and the artwork is by Jimmy Manton. This deck is really classic Halloween. Like, it just really captures the essence of the, not just All Hallows Eve, like the 31st, but like just kind of the energy of fall as well. With like that, I feel like it really captures that balance between both sides of the veil. Like, there's mundane practical things like the robin that was there, but then there's also like this very magical, mythical, fairy tale kind of energy to it as well. This is the Winter Waite by Tarot Collectibles. So this is we also showed the Groovy Waite earlier, and this one is just all winter themed. So this company, Tarot Collectibles, takes like your traditional Rider-Waite deck and recolors it, redesigns it to have different themes. In this case, winter. So obviously, this is my winter tarot deck. And I just really love their decks. They're so beautiful and so creative and simple. And there you have it. I believe that that is all of the decks that I have, which honestly feels like so much more than I thought I had in the beginning. So maybe that is why I keep them separated, because it makes me feel like, oh, I don't have that many. They fit right here in these shelves. But then there's like all these other locations with more and more decks. So hopefully let me know what your favorite decks were. Remember, there are links in the description for the decks if you're interested in purchasing any of them. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and flipping through some tarot decks with me. We'll see you on the other side of the looking glass, you guys. Thanks so much. And then she found some more decks. I totally forgot that I always carry a couple of decks with me on massages. So there were two in here. The first one is the Archangel Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. I've already given you the spiel about how I feel about her, but this was actually one of my very first decks, and I do have a lot of clients that really connect with angel energy, so I still use this deck even though what I already said about Doreen Virtue. This is also interesting that all the artwork is by different artists, so it's kind of like a classic, and I still use it today. And then, last but totally not least, because this deck is amazing, it is the Modern Witch Tarot deck. And I think this was like one of my second decks. I highly recommend this for anyone learning the tarot because it follows that formula of the Rider-Waite symbology. And even the colors are pretty similar too. So this is by Lisa Sterrell, and so she wrote it and did the artwork as well. It's a very inclusive deck of different minorities and genders, and yeah, I can't believe that I almost forgot that one because it's a wonderful deck.